until we trade through this bearish weekly fair value gap. So my bias is still bearish on the weekly here, and it will only flip bullish if we go above, I guess this is 99K, but close the weekly candle strongly above that. Now, if we look on the H4, technically it's kind of hard to read the structure, because if this was just a one directional move down, there are no clear swing highs that you can look at and be like, oh yeah, that's a break of structure, except this one. But we cannot ignore the fact that the market has been bouncing pretty strongly since the last Friday, and we can see how, at least in this internal structure, it's been printing higher highs and higher lows. So maybe this is why Perd also talked about it. The price action on BTC is not very telling right now, because technically you are in a bearish trend on the H4, but the internal structure has been bullish for like 4 days now. But my eyes right now are on the H1 time frame, because I think that's the most telling one if you actually want to take some trades. And that one is bearish right now and has been bearish since the daily open. And bullish fair value gaps don't get respected. As you can see, they only create lower lows, and then we create an even lower low. And bearish fair value gaps on the H1 have been respected. So this is why I wanted to short today, but I didn't get the chance. I didn't get a nice entry. So yeah, for now I'm still bearish on the H1, and this is kind of my outlook for the coming hours, coming days, even maybe tomorrow as well, until we can reclaim the high that has been put before PPI. And yeah, I am still looking at a little bit more downside, and the important level is the Monday low. If we accept below Monday low, I think we'll get a bearish rest of the week, maybe even revisit the previous week low, and that would be kind of bad. If we are able to accept above the Monday high, then we'll get a bullish rest of the week, and then we can look at the retest of the yearly open, and then yeah, kind of go back to higher time frames for the higher time frame outlook.
Thank you for that, Victor. Luke, what are you looking at in the markets? Particularly, what are you looking at in the BTC chart?
Hello. Yeah, kind of a similar to the rest of you guys, really. Let me just throw on a screen share. Yeah, as Victor was saying, it's the close that we had last week and the end of last week was, I think, too much damage to be expecting any swift recovery back to new all-time highs or anything again. Now that rejection that we got off of the yearly open without even really getting any kind of bounce back above it was yeah, extremely bearish, and now we've had obviously a pretty massive move down since then. The only hope that I have for this right now from a macro perspective, that this could hold and continue on to make a new high. I'm not really considering that as an option right now. Like the rest of you guys, I'd have to see price trading back above well, for me really, like yearly open could come back above yearly open, trade around there, but for me it's really that area between like 97 to 99k. If we can flip that and start trading back inside where there's value from this upper range, then I think that would start to look a lot better. If it does bounce up into there, I think you would at least expect it to be slammed back down short term, or just trading within a range here anyway, so trading level to level. The only real positives that I had is that the last time we bounced, if you take from low to high, have the fib expansions down here, we did bottom out around the 1.618 previously. We have come into the 1.618 down here. We've also hit the NPOC. This was our previous yearly point of control that's then shifted higher. If we continue to trade around here, 84, 85, then that POC will shift back down again, which could provide some more balance and some kind of base to bounce back up towards 100k again. We had an untapped monthly level, some stuff on the chart that has been cleaned up, and it's been pretty consistent in cleaning that up throughout this whole uptrend that we've been in. But just overall, yeah, the drop that we've had, I had a couple of attempts to long it. A couple of those swing longs didn't go very well. And like a lot of you guys, I had a a more of a bearish outlook today, but once again, just wasn't able to get into the short position. I've tried a long. I tried to take this. I was short yesterday. Was attempting to go long around like just if there was a dip below 85 on around. Well, I was hoping that would happen today to get a sweep of those. What would have been the Monday lows in order to get a nice bounce. That's still an option for me. However, I think now that we've come up and taken out these like this is kind of the main liquidity that we've got on the chart here, coming up into that 618702, coming up into the anchored VWAP from the whole move down. It's more bearish. I've tried along from New York Open because the trend that we have right now is pretty clean. Like the uptrend that we're in, it's a nice simple invalidation if we do come down towards previous day low again, and if we decisively lose the POC of this range. But yeah, overall, just there might be a little bit more in this bounce. We may be able to get a little bit higher to clear through some of this just major imbalance that we have from Thursday's dump. But I wouldn't be surprised at all to see this roll back over, come down and test these lows at least like 83, 84 again, which could give us that overall like yearly points of control shifting down that could give us a new basis to take some trades off of. But it's it's in a tight spot right now, trapped between, well, clearly within the range that we had from the start of the year at this stage. And I think at that stage, like now, even if we do get a bounce, you'd have to be considering the option that this ends up looking a lot like what we had in 2021, where we came down, tested into a previous POC, very similar to what we've done on this occasion, a little bit of a bounce back up, and then we're looking at a bear market soon after. The timing does make sense for there to be a bear market. That doesn't mean that we can't have a little bit more of an alt run or anything like that. Dominance has been dropping a little bit whenever we've had bounces from Bitcoin. Even if it ranges here and just has some relief, then that could give an opportunity for altcoins. But from a timing perspective, I mentioned this last week, for a 4-year cycle perspective, then the bull run like should have ended in October anyway, and it looks like it probably has done. And very much prepared for some extended downside now, but that doesn't mean there's not opportunity. So yeah, just level to level for me.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree with you there. Level to level has been a guiding light for me throughout my crypto career. So many guys get caught up with the big questions, like where is BTC going to be in 6 months' time? Are we in a bear market? Is this the end of the cycle? When I think that the vast majority of traders would do far, far better just playing things level to level, setting your invalidations for your ideas and letting them play out. But yeah, that's a great point. Rouge, going to you now. How are you looking at Bitcoin? Are we in a bear market? Is this a bull market pullback? What's your view on things?
So Bitcoin. First of all, I just pretty much got stopped break even. I was positioned in the long, just like I think Luke said he was long. I longed around here after the M5 close, but after we touched VWAP, I moved stops to even, and I got stopped on the pullback here. My view on Bitcoin, like you said just earlier, it's a level to levels play. We front run major fib extension level here, which was 79.5k for the 1618 extension from ATH. And so far, Move has been respecting the impulsive nature of a bullish leg up from yesterday. If we do pull a fib from yesterday's high to low, in my trading system, you see, New York bounced on the 382, which is the level you have to hold for an impulsive leg up. Otherwise, you can pretty much treat it as a dead cat bounce. This pretty much means for me that this could be a relief bounce before major res gets hit. And for me, major resistance will be when we complete double distribution here. On Thursday, it's the first time since I started trading and that a double distribution setup doesn't work. What is double distribution? It's one distribution of time and volume in an area followed by a quick displacement represented by single prints. It's essentially normally one batch, but here, because you have just a tiny bit here, you can count it as a single batch followed by another distribution of volume. So for me, this will be the thing attracting Bitcoin price action before correction. Like either two scenarios, either this is filled and nothing happens and Bitcoin stabilizes around here, or this serves as a wall and we just go back down. And actually my long take profit was 90k 150 in order to cleanse this. We're still far away, but you get the point. If this serves as resistance, in my opinion, this is just a lower high that we're making, because in order for us to break structure on H4, we need to flip here. At least we need to flip here and stabilize, just like you like throwing this on Twitter. We take it and we act as a support on these highs. The only problem is we are still trading below 100k and we have so much to the upside. However, what's interesting for me is the amount of short that has been built up in this way down. Means that if buyers show real strength, spot buyers and perps, if they do manage to hammer the buy button, because of the amount of shorts built up on this way down since 100k, we could verily squeeze high, because every time we're pushing up from this low here, you could see both on CVD open interest that most of the fueling up has been buy short getting wrecked out of the market. The thing is, every time it happens so far, spot is kinda meh. They're not really participating. And as you guys know, if you have a move fueled by shorts closing position, sooner or later, if you do not sustain the move, it's going to fall down. And here it started stalling. Yesterday I shorted this area again, but I made a huge mistake because I took this as a pivot where I should have taken this one. So we are still facing a, how do you say in English? Buyers stepping on the brake pedal every time you hit a meaningful level of resistance. So in my opinion, at the moment, we have to take things very slowly, especially if we're longing. For shorts, you can be a bit more greedy, but still, when you look at here, structure seems to be holding and leaning towards a relief. I'm not too excited about this because we didn't get the test, which is 90k. I will have a clearer opinion if we do hit 90k and after the reaction that we're given here. I hate that we only cleansed a part of the weekend lows. Yesterday we took out this one, but this batch has been left unfulfilled. So for me, we're not out of the woods. It's looking slightly more decent, but we are not out of the woods. And I'm looking basically to be shorting every meaningful resistance level. Just like I was looking for shorts yesterday, my own mistake for pulling the fib the wrong way. But look again here today, very standard bearish price action, price failing around VWAP multiple times. So this is the kind of day where I feel like trading is somewhat of a gamble, because yesterday we did the complete opposite and today is just reverse mode. Well, you could argue we tagged this level. But yeah, that's pretty much my view. I think Perdus asked me altcoins. Man, I don't know. I would rather go and I would rather go and play casino rather than trade altcoins. To be honest, I think I would have better odds. Why was that one fib level pulled wrong? Because there's two highs here, but this isn't the relevant. This is not the relevant high. This one is, and for some reason I had the full the fib drawn out, and I didn't pay attention to which one I actually pulled. And because of the pull, you see this one. This is the major relevant high. Look, we top ticked and just rolled over a bit. Whereas if you pull it from this high, it got me stopped out. It got me stopped out because I had the lines and I didn't pay attention to which high I pulled the fib from. And my own mistake. So yeah, basically that's but the relevant high made a new low, right? So that's why I thought the other one. That's a point of view. That's a point of view we can argue on, because this is just a, where is it? It's here, in my opinion. At least on H4 it looks better. I always tend, when you have stacked highs, to take the highest one. So 1, pull back, 2, like that. So I take this one.
I know you don't. I know you don't trade
I'm-
altcoins, but don't you think like what we have seen a lot of times is that altcoins have been like slow bleeding. Then BTC comes into like a key level where altcoins go first, and then BTC slowly starts its uptrend as well. Like, do you think we're bottomed at the moment, or don't you think we're bottomed, Rouge? What?
I would have a clearer view once we flip this. As long as we don't flip this, I'm not calling for a bottom or whatever. As long as this still stands, I don't know. If this is still alive, we didn't bottom yet, in my opinion, because if the double distribution setup is a setup which has like an 85 to 90% hit rate on Bitcoin. Like, it's like I said, we traded it like at least like 10 times this year, and this is the only time it failed. So if this doesn't attract buying when it's like the most easy setup to be trading, then I don't know. Then it's very, very, very grim. And this is what I said in the chat when I took the setup. I said, even if double distribution doesn't make us go higher, then like BTC looks really cooked. It really looks cooked. Plus, with all the bullshit with MSTR and the company being withdrawn from the index and stuff like that, I don't know. There's just so much things that can go wrong. Anyways, I'm not going to take more speaking time. That's my view. I'm playing it level to level, just like Valdis. I'm very cautious when longing, and it's just very hard, very, very hard to be trading Bitcoin at the moment, like actively. day trading Bitcoin. It's
Yeah,
a
lots of
very
manipulation.
modern
I think that has been the story of the cycle for many. A point I want to touch on there, because I saw Jedi mention it in the chat, and I see Purdue alluding to it. Alts always bottom and BTC follows first. Jedi said something along the lines of, Fartcoin being a leading indicator for altcoin risk, and that's a meme. But also, I think we've actually seen it several times this cycle already, where Fartcoin is actually a leading indicator when it comes to risk and risk on trading, particularly for alts. It tends to move first, at least in 2025. It has tended to move first when alts reverse, and that goes both ways, both bullish and bearish. I'm pretty sure there's been at least 2 times this cycle where alts have been rallying, and Fartcoin was one of the first to start losing key levels and start trading to the downside, with the rest of the alt market following. So, Jed, I'm curious to get your thoughts on that. And then I also want to ask you about Monad, and I want to transition into talking a little bit more about altcoins. So go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you for not putting me on the spot and asking me about Bitcoin, because I think that's been covered quite adequately. I think the first point that I want to make is that there's that saying, the meme, there's a bull market somewhere always. And I think this is where I think Purdue and myself tend to allude to a lot of the time, is if you're awake and if you catch the tempo of what's going on around you, there's actually some really good opportunity. And yes, you could argue that it's gambling. Yes, you could get wrecked. I mean, this is just part of the game. But I think if you persist and you manage your risk, I think there's some very, very good gains to be made. That's the whole bloody point of Chroma and what it is that we're doing here. So yes, just coming back to Fartcoin, it has been for the most part a leading indicator, as much as it really does tweak me. It's just the reality of this cycle. And I think, as long as Bitcoin dominance continues to plummet, and as long as it maintains this level that we're in at the moment, which I think it will, and I think there is a reasonable conversation that can be had that this could be a bottom, or the range of a bottom that's forming at the moment. Because why am I saying this? Well, for 3 to 4 weeks, at least 3 weeks, we saw some serious dumping happening on Binance, and that has now stopped. Who that was and why that was, we don't exactly know. But it has stopped, and the market's definitely taken a bit of a breather. And this is the reason why coins like Monad are running. So there's 2 arguments here for Monad. Is the technology really great? And is it going to be a new kid on the block that's going to bring new opportunity? Possibly. Is it just a low float VC coin that's being manipulated to pump so that people can ape in and then get wrecked, pretty much the same way that Plasma did? Absolutely could be the case. But the point is, we are seeing an opportunity here. We are playing the game. We are managing our risk. And I can promise you something right now. This thing could do some serious X's on the way up. What happens after that? Anything can happen. We know this. We saw it with Plasma. And when it does happen, let's not get too hung up on it and get too romantic about the idea of an L1 with all these opportunities on it, because that's what it is. It really is a great L1. There's a lot of great projects that are building on there. I did post a video in the DeFi channel and in the fundamentals channel. Go check it out. There's a lot happening on that chain. A lot of money is being spent. But there's a very good argument to actually present another bearer chain case. Don't forget, bearer chain, L1, also many projects, also a lot of TVL initially. It could be the same playbook. We don't know. But I think it's going to be quite different. The fact that it's not listed on Binance from a spot perspective for me is so fucking bullish. I can't even begin to explain to you. They obviously didn't want to do a deal with Binance. Whether that happens down the line, I don't know. But as far as I can see, there is no desire to go and list on Binance, because we all know what happens around it, and really put meaning to what a meme is. But at the same time, there's still the illusion. The illusion is that it was a fair launch. The illusion is that it was, like there's no team in the whole thing. Just for your information, that thing was bundled to the tits from day one. That thing has followed the same playbook that every other fucking scam in this industry over the last 18 months has followed. But the only reason why it didn't succumb to zero like all the others is because it just landed up stealing people's hearts from a meme perspective. So I think now it's in a place where you could really like say, okay, well, it really is a meme, even though a serious amount of money was made by probably 3 or 4 people. But that's just the way the game is. And then everyone kind of sees that as the starting point for what memes should be in the current meta that is meme coins. So I think the answer is pretty simple. Folus, it really does have the mind share. It really does have the momentum. And I think it's an indicator for both ways. And I agree with Purdue. I think Zcash right now is definitely the leading indicator for downside. Whereas I think Fartcoin can act as a leading indicator on both sides of the spectrum, but particularly right now for the upside. And we've seen it over the last week. It's definitely leading everything. And I think it's going to carry on doing that going into possibly the next 6 months.
Yeah, I love that. Purdue, do you have anything to add to that as our resident altcoin expert?
Yeah, I mean, altcoin expert. I mean, it's pretty funny, right? That actually, the moment we started topping on Zcash is the moment that BTC found like a bottom for now. And for now, it lost, on my chart, it lost a lot of bullish momentum. So where Fartcoin bottomed and Zcash like topped, it's pretty funny. So there must be like some sort of correlation where whales play around and like inside info rotates that the moment Fartcoin finds a bottom and Zcash, for example, tops, that is the start or the signal for like risk on appetite or risk off appetite. So I think there's definitely a connection between these two.
That's awesome. Appreciate that. I want to move on now slightly. And I'm conscious that Osbra hasn't spoken. So you're up next, Osbra. I want to talk to you about rate cuts because you're a guy who usually has a pretty good opinion on these things. So I'm conscious that the last time we spoke, last week, I believe that the odds for a rate cut in December were much lower, something more along the lines of 50-50. Now I just had a quick look around. We have an 85% chance of rate cuts in December on Polymarket. FedWatch is giving an 82% chance. So it seems like the odds that we're going to get a rate cut are increasing. The market is beginning to price in a rate cut. Could that have something to do with, or could this recent BTC upside, this little bounce that we've had from 80K to now trading at 87K, we were close to 90 just earlier, I should say last night. Do you think those two things are related? And how should we be viewing these increasing odds of a rate cut in December?
Anyway, I think we talked enough about Bitcoin. So regarding the rate cuts, it's something I discussed with the boys in the crypto chat and in my corner as well. Last week, we had Fed voting member Williams, who is pretty close to Powell, who advocated for rate cuts, and it was below 50%, as you mentioned. It was 42%, and then it jumped around to around 69-70% after he said that rates should be cut, that the Fed should continue to cut rates. And then over the weekend, we also had Waller, which is another voting member, who said that he would advocate for rate cuts as well, considering the labor market situation in the US. He even mentioned that inflation is not too much of a concern because labor market is the most important, and the thing that you don't want is to see inflation rising and labor market continue to weaken, because this is what's leading to a stagflation, and stagflation puts everyone in big troubles. The economy, the government, but also the central bankers, because they're facing the dilemma to keep rates low to favor the labor market, or increasing rates to tame inflation. So that's definitely not something that you want to see. And the Fed has been quite clear. They want to save the labor market. It's a priority over inflation. That's why you have now odds being high for a rate cut in December. And the Fed governor today also said that he wants to see a large interest rate cut for the next FOMC. As a reminder, as Follis quite often said, the governor of the Federal Reserve has been appointed by Donald Trump himself. That's why he's like vouching for such things to happen. Keep in mind that the next FOMC will happen after the official end of quantitative tightening. So we are yet to see if Powell is going to tell us they're going to start QE officially, quantitative easing, or if it's just a pause of the QT, because the ending the QT is one thing, but starting the printing is another thing. That's why that last FOMC of 2025 is going to be probably the most important, because it's going to set the tone for the first quarter of 2026. So yeah, most likely we'll have rate cuts. The question is now, I don't think the question is are we going to have them or not. It's more like, is it going to be 25 basis points or 50 basis points?
Can you explain that point? Because this is something I've seen people talk about on Twitter. People seem to be confused by it. In the last Fed meeting, what was promised, or what was mentioned in the brief, was an end to QT, right? An end to quantitative tightening. Is that the same as QE? Is that the same as quantitative easing? And if not, what are the differences? And is it just a stepping stone to QE? And if so, does that mean QE is inevitable, or does it mean that it's likely, or what does that mean?
Of course, to start QE, you need to stop QT. So that's the stepping stone for QE, of course. However, how it works, when they said they're going to end QT, technically they said they're going to stop reducing the balance sheet. The balance sheet of the Fed, basically, like they have assets, just like an asset manager. And if they reduce the balance, it means they're dumping their assets. So they're absolutely not supporting the financial markets, the financial system, even we can say. If they increase the balance, it means they are like adding assets to the balance sheet. So they are like supporting the financial markets. How they do this? Basically, they offer the banks to park the excess of liquidity into an account in exchange of yields overnight. This is why we say reverse repo overnight. This is the technical term. So the bank sends the money to the Fed. The Fed say, okay, we're going to keep that money for 24 hours. And in exchange, you're going to have a high yield. And when QE is fully on, the Fed use the money to buy assets to support the financial markets. So it's very different to stop selling and start buying, to make it very simple. So what we want to hear for the next FOMC is Powell to say we're going to start buying, to make it simple to everyone. Obviously, he's not going to say, yeah, we're going to buy stocks and stuff. He's going to talk about the balance sheet of the Fed, the liabilities and stuff. But translation is, are they going to just stop selling for a while, or are they going to start to buy as soon as the next FOMC, so as soon as next month? That's the most important, because rate cuts are priced in, I guess. What we want to know is, are they going to print money or not, and to inject liquidity into the market? Liquidity has been dried. It's something also that we have to keep in mind. This is why the reverse repo account is at zero, because liquidity has been dried out, and now the Fed is facing that issue plus the labor market issue. So they have to take measures. And the fun fact, Trump, when he said 8 months ago, the Fed needs to start cutting rates right now, it was basically the top of the labor market. Since then, the labor market has been tanking. So even if Trump sounded stupid saying these things, we should have like 0% interest rates, etc., he marked the top of the labor market.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one to watch. I think you just said it there. It's probably the most important FOMC of the year. You stand by that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, one to watch for sure. Especially in line with what I think is going to be a potential bullish catalyst next year. What's
The
the
new
Fed?
Fed chairman.
New Fed chairman, but what's the current guy who's been appointed
Jerome
by
Powell.
Trump?
Powell.
Not
The
Powell.
Fed governor.
The Fed governor, yeah. What's his name? The guy who's been appointed by Trump.
Good question. I don't have his name
Besant?
exactly. but-
Besant.
No, Besant is the treasury. Is the guy leading the treasury, not the Fed.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. I'll find it eventually. But yeah, the fact that he
Treasury
has
secretary.
the fact that he has voted for rate cuts twice, where there has been no rate cut, he's been the only dissent. Dissent, isn't that it?
No, Besant is the treasury secretary.
Okay. I'll find it.
Right.
Miran, that's it. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
we got it.
Miran is the governor of the Fed. Yeah, exactly.
The fact that he has voted for rate cuts twice in excess of what what was put through is very telling, in my opinion, as to the direction that Trump wants to go, especially given his comments several months ago about wanting to cut rates by like 300 basis points or something like that, which would be the greatest rate cut in history by a factor of 3x. The last greatest was 100, and I think that was around the start of COVID. The difference between then and now is that back in COVID, the economy was struggling to get going, and at the moment, the economy is arguably the opposite. It is overheating and needs to be reined in a little bit. But yeah, interesting times. I want to move on to altcoins here. I want to talk about XRP a little bit, and this is an open question for our panel. Obviously, we had the Franklin Templeton XRP ETF being launched. Is this just a short-term catalyst? Is this going to be a long-term bullish catalyst? Is this going to be something that we need to pay attention to? Is this the start of many more ETFs to come? Curious to get the opinions of the panel.
You designed someone to start, or
I'll pick on you, Osbra or Purdue,
Okay.
if I don't get a volunteer.
No, I can start. If it was a good time for the crypto market, I would say that XRP would get a lot of good traction from this information. However, we saw that like announcement about a potential Doge ETF, a Solana ETF, had barely any impact, positive impact on the assets that are tied to these ETFs. So I'm quite neutral, and I don't think we see anything crazy. I still have that theory that XRP is that Ripple is aiming to do something like a circle and be introduced to the stock market or something, and that would probably be the most impactful narrative for XRP when we start to have rumors yeah, like C's said in the chat, ETF narrative playing good lately. The answer is not really. So I don't think it's gonna have any significant impact on the XRP price action. Yeah, Doge, perfect. Very good example. You can
Yeah.
also type FC sold 1 week, and we probably gonna have a very similar chart. So yeah, I can let Perdu now share his his view.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty bullish on XRP at the moment. I think accumulating a position here, it has like it's on its way for the first cryptocurrency to have like a banking license, which is pretty insane. They have close ties to the Trump family. They have close ties to Coinbase as well, with Circle. So I think the ETFs and also the banking license narrative around XRP. I mean, who gives a shit if it's going to be worth it that it's going to have a banking license. I mean, the price will tell you everything. If a narrative is hot enough, that it will accelerate the price. And for now, the charts are telling us that it reclaimed the $2 level again, that it's going to be like a bullish catalyst for XRP. So I think they will form some sort of narrative together with the Trump family and with the banking license and with the ETFs. It's one of the majors that has the most bullish catalysts coming up. So I think XRP from a major perspective is one of the better looking coins at the moment from an FA perspective and a TA perspective as well.
Okay, that's awesome.
yeah.
Does anyone else have any hot takes on the XRP ETF or the ETF narrative in general? If not, we can move on. I want to touch very briefly, and we'll wrap things up after this. Purdy, you're talking about a AI bubble at the moment with Filecoin, ARK, some other coins. How much do you? I guess there's two questions here for me. The first is, how much lasting power do you think that bubble has? I mean, you probably touched on what you mean by that by calling it a bubble rather than a narrative. The second one is, do you see that for the rest of the cycle that, you know, with the liquidity issues we've had, people complaining that we don't have, you know, alt seasons like we used to, it really has been a hot ball of money rotating from one narrative to the next, no narrative really sticking for longer than a week or two. Do you see an end to that, or do you think that that is just going to be the way that this cycle works, the way that this cycle has worked and will continue to work, until something changes in how much capital is in the market and how liquidity is rotated in the market?
Definitely. I think the way you just put it with Miran is vouching for like the biggest rate cuts in history. That will eventually lead to more liquidity in the market. It will lead to risk on appetite. The rate cuts and the quantitative easing will all make sure that risk on assets will fly. And especially with Trump going into his final term, I think it will be fireworks, to be honest, in Q1 and Q2. So the way things are setting up, I think it's just all part of the bigger plan with the tariffs, how it has been trading, how they manipulated prices to the downside. I think it has all been part of a bigger plan of Trump, and it will definitely end with a bang, in my opinion.
Interesting. The last question I want to ask, and this is an open question for our panel, do we think, and this is a question that I don't have an answer to, and actually I detest when people ask this question of me, but nonetheless, here we are. Is this just a normal bull market pullback, or are we in a bear market? And before you answer that question, I just want some stats I was looking at earlier. So BTC is currently around 30% from all-time high, right? And 32%, I think. Since 2017, we have seen 3 pullbacks of 75% of more. So top to bottom is 75% more. 6 pullbacks of 50% of more or more. And over 20 pullbacks of 25% or more. So the current BTC pullback we are experiencing, we've seen similar pullbacks over 20 times since 2017. Each of these pullbacks was eventually followed by new highs. And I guess that my question for the panel, and it's an open question, is do we think this is another pullback? One of these 25, 30, 35% pullbacks? Or is something deeper on the cards? Are we looking at a more severe correction and a potential end to this bull run?
I can also talk, but I saw Victorious. Okay, Victorious, I saw you turning on your mic, so I guess you wanted to enter the arena. So please, sir.
Victor first, then Osra.
Yeah. I believe that we are not in a bear market yet. I mean, it depends on how you define the bear market, but I don't think that BTC will put in a new all-time high this cycle. So if you define the bear market as starting from when BTC puts in the last all-time high of the bull run, then yes, we are in a bear market. But for me, a bear market starts when the market in general capitulates, and we're not there yet. But no, I don't think that we're going to make a new all-time high, if that's the definition of the bear market that we're using. And yes, you had a great point there with all the drops in percentages that we had, but we also have to think about the law of diminishing returns. So for example, in 2021, we had the 55% drop in May, from the May all-time high to the bottom in July. But now we only had 30% drop from the all-time high in January to the bottom in April. So you can see how these dumps also diminish. So that means that 30% dump right now would be equivalent to something like a 50% dump in the 2021 cycle. So I don't think it's the best idea. It's generally, for me, not the best idea to compare these two cycles between each other, because first of all, this law of diminishing returns and diminishing gains, but also because it's a totally different environment. And I will share my screen for just a second, because I believe that based on the fact that we have lost the weekly structure definitely on BTC, that doesn't really happen that often in bullish cycles. We only saw this once right here, this cycle, and then we quickly bottom and run it up. So far we haven't done that. And then if you look at the previous cycle, we done that once here and then here, and it was game over. So if we compared it to cycles, which I said is not the best idea, we can see we have a double top here and then a double top here. And then the second time you break the weekly structure, then technically the bear market starts. So if we are to compare them, this level where we are right here would be equivalent to this level where we are right here. But then if you compare the drops in percentages, this is a 52% dump and 36% dump. Just like I said in the beginning, a 30% dump right here is equivalent to a 50% dump in the past. So yeah, I believe we are closer to the end of the bull run rather than before any all-time high, and this is my reason why we're looking at the weekly structure. But even then, if we dump 76% in 2021, the equivalent now would be something like 50%, which would put us between 55 and 65k, which is actually the level where I'm planning to load up my spot bags for BTC for the next cycle, where I'm expecting 150 to 200k. So don't think that we're going to have a 76% dump just like the last bear market towards 30k. I think in the bear market we'll bottom around 50 to 60k.
Osbra.
Yeah, so I like that conversation because I have something quite opposite to what Vic has said. And something we discussed during my last stream, which was very interesting. I'm going to share my screen right now. So let me know when you see it. Should be good.
Yes.
Yes? Okay. So as you mentioned, follies during previous cycles, and I kind of agree with Vic. I don't like to compare cycles. I think every cycle is different, if we can talk about cycles. However, this was a bull run, right? I think nobody's going to say it wasn't. We had a deep correction here. We had a deep one just here. We also had that 2021 massive correction, then sideways for like a 3 months something, and then we made a new high just after. So that was a bull run, and this downtrend periods were just, in my opinion, corrections, right? And then this was a bear market, because we're not talking about correction, we're talking about a long and extended downtrend, not just like a downtrend into something bigger. Like we had an extended downtrend, downtrend that led to to new lows on BTC, and then here we're facing quite the same. Like, remember how everyone was saying, "Oh, it's over." Zoran calling for 40k. We might have it, nobody knows, but like it was calling for 40k, and a lot of people were calling for like the end of the world right here. Then we made a new high. Same here when we had this correction, people were calling it's over. So I don't want to be a bulltard or whatever, but people have to be cautious with what they call a bull market or like a bear market, because we had the same thing in 2022 when we had like a pump or like a correction to the upside, because there were also corrections during a bear market. So when we had price moving up, people said, "Oh, it's the bull run starting," whatever. So I think we have to be cautious with what we call bear or bull market. We have corrections during both types of market. It's really difficult to tell it's a bear market when we have S&P at current valuations, Nvidia at current valuations. The amount of AI investment, the amount is astonishing. Gold valuations, USD being below, like DXY being below 100. It's very hard to say bear market. Nasdaq also super high. Nikkei printed a new all-time high as well, and the yen is super weak. So it's not really bear market characteristics. And I know for some people what I'm saying is going to sound crazy or even dumb because BTC current price action is like bearish. But keep in mind, are you asking, is it a crypto bear market or is it a bear market overall? Because crypto is a niche, right? We are in a niche. 5% of people are into crypto or something like that. 5% of the population. So we are in a niche. So it's not because our like favorite altcoin is tanking 50% that we can say the world is in a bear market or in a bull market if BTC is pumping. Overall, I think we're not in a bear market and we are having a correction. And maybe this time is going to be different. We always say that anyway, but we never had a bear market going into a quantitative easing or going into rate cuts. We had massive dumps before the quantitative easing, for sure. Asia crisis, subprimes crisis, COVID crisis. It always happened. But then when QE started, we had like a bull run. This cycle is very different because even with high interest rates, weak labor market, we had insane valuations on equities. We had a BTC over 100K. We had gold almost at 5K, etc., etc. So definitely this cycle is very different from the previous ones. But to say it's a bear market, I think it's too early. I'm not saying, and I want to be very vocal and very clear about it. I'm not saying that people are wrong to say we are in a bear market because maybe it's the beginning of a bear market, but we don't yet have the characteristics to say we are in a bear market. Not that these valuations, absolutely not. We'll see if BTC loses 80K and starts to go back to 73 to retest like 2021 all-time high, losing these levels and stuff. And yeah, maybe. Also, I think the real indicator to gauge if we're in a bear market or not is not BTC at all. It's not crypto anyway. It's like the economy and most importantly, US equities. If S&P goes back below 6,500 to begin with, and then 6,000, then yeah, 6,000, then yeah, we can say we are entering bear market. But for now, it's quite difficult to say it's a bear. And once again, because I want to be very clear, I'm not saying people are wrong to say it. I think it's just too early, and until then, it's just we should probably just like adapt and trade what we see. Just checking what Vic said, isn't Nvidia being so highly evaluated a bad thing? 65 price to earning ratio, I think we should be. Yeah, it's you're absolutely right. It's dangerous, and this is exactly what I posted also in my corner this morning regarding the Genesis mission that the White House officialized. They want to be heavily invested into AI. The economy is already invested into AI. It's a very interesting topic we discussed with Finico the last time, and he thinks that OpenAI is going to implode sooner or later. Economy is becoming AI dependent, like being worth 50% of the gross domestic product is absolutely insane. And of course, it's not a good thing at all. So I agree, Vic. However, people have been calling for an Nvidia bubble since 2024. And since then, it's been up only. So what if it lasts another year? What if it lasts another 2 years? And then, yeah, maybe we will have the real bear market beginning for sure. I'm done.
Yeah, appreciate that. I think we're going to call it there. It's 7 past the hour. Unless anyone has anything to add to that.
I might quickly just chime in.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me? Yeah. I think something important for people to realize as well is all the discussion about, are we in a bear market? Are we in a bull market? We're already down 35%. Even if we go into a bear market, it's not going to be that bad. So I don't think people need to be too worried about whether we go into a bear market, whether this is a bull market or anything like that. I think also, I just had a little bit of a thought that this is the first cycle really that we've had like really major, like big players, governments, banks, institutions now holding Bitcoin. And even if price continues to go down for Bitcoin and we go down to 50K, 60K, something like that, there's still going to need to be reasons to hold that and narratives around crypto. We're currently the industry's $3 trillion valuation for the crypto industry. It was at $4 trillion. The supply now is held by the institutions and players with a lot of money, whereas previous cycles it's been people that would easily give up those tokens, like retail, who would sell them and panic when things go down. Also, we have there's 20 million of the 21 million Bitcoin that's ever going to exist are already in circulation now. So there's not that much more Bitcoin left to be produced. Most of the supply is already held, and it's now held by people that don't really need to sell anymore. And I think that there's going to be other narratives. I know, like, we've touched upon this before, and I know this is something you're interested in, Follis, about like, is the 4-year cycle dead? Are we going to be seeing extending cycles? Are we going to see a change in the cycles? I think that's probably quite likely to happen. There's a few narratives that I think could still play out. Even if Bitcoin drops another 30-40%, we have other things that could start to happen. The people with the big money are going to want to use that money somehow if they're stabled up or if they're like holding Bitcoin. There's the Tau halving coming up. So BitTensor, they got their first halving in a couple of weeks, and they have the same tokenomics as Bitcoin, 21 million supply. It's going to be the first halving. That could be an interesting narrative. So even if we go into bear market, I think there's going to be plenty of opportunity. And like, we're already a couple of months into it. If we're in a bear market, it's already like, we're a month and a half. It's been 6 weeks. They only last about a year anyway. So you don't need to panic too much. You can't go down that much more. And then it's a nice time to start looking at new opportunities, really. So, yeah, I just wanted to say that. It's not that scary. Bear markets are quite nice.
Famous last words, can't go down that much more. I'll quote you on that in a few months' time. No, but I do think that's something that I wish more people realized that and more people got that into their heads. Like, so many people, I look around Twitter and Discord and I see so many people saying, oh, it's over. Like, the bear market is here. It's over. All the opportunities are gone. Like, it's, we just got to sit on our hands and do nothing for the next 2 years. When I think it's the opposite. True crazy wealth in crypto, in my opinion, is made from, like, at the end of the bull market, the opportunities are terrible. Like, they're so, the or on getting into trades and buying spot and investing in crypto towards the end of the cycle or even in the middle of the cycle is terrible. The best or is always identifying good projects at the fucking stone cold lows in the bear market, buying them and riding the 10, 20, 30, 40, 50x, whatever it is, when everything starts to rip. Like, I think about Render now. I have round tripped that bag badly, but at its peak, my Render bag was like 26x or 27x off the lows. I know lots of guys who got in Solana when it was sub $10, ETH when it was sub $1,000. They got some nice, 25x play on Solana, maybe something more along the lines of a 5x on ETH. Like, the crazy opportunities in a bear market are from identifying undervalued projects or projects that have taken a hit just by nature of the fact that it's a bear market, and riding those to new highs when the bull market comes around and liquidity and capital starts flowing into the market. Honestly, and I'm not just saying this, I cannot wait for the next proper bear market when everything nukes, because that is the point of maximum opportunity in this market and maximum asymmetric upside and chance to make crazy money. But on that bombshell, on that knowledge drop, we will call it there, coming just past 10 past the hour. Appreciate my panel of intelligent chads. As always, we had Victor, Osbra, Luke, Rouge, Jedi, and Purdue. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us for the hour. We will be back next week with the next edition of the Chroma Team Roundtable. Until then, stay safe. We will see you in the Discord. Peace out. Bye-bye.